This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
All right, everyone, I hope you're all doing fantastic. Now, in this video, I think a lot of you are going to enjoy this one, especially if you're big-time boxing fans, especially with the heavyweight division, because we're going to be talking about a subject that's not really spoken about too much. We're going to be going in depth into the heavyweight division, the rankings for the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF, and the biases, which each and every one of them shows. Reason being, because over the last few videos, while I've been doing the rankings, the common theme in the comment section seems to be people talk about corruption, they're talking about incompetence, and talking about bias. So we're going to talk about that. Now, I'm not here to teach a lot of you how to suck eggs, because a lot of you are hardcore boxing fans. You'll be well ahead of the curve. You don't need me to dull down anything. Okay, you don't need me to explain. But just to be fair and across the board, there are some new boxing fans coming in. Everyone's got to start somewhere, so they're not going to know some of the things that you will know. Okay, some people will fleet in and out of boxing, so again, they're not going to be up to speed on a lot of things. So at times I will dull it down for the benefit of those. Okay, I'm not trying to insult anybody's hardcore intelligence here. A lot of you already have your hardcore tattoo. For those of you who don't, by the end of this video, you better hold a conversation when it comes to the current heavyweight rankings. All right, so you can go out and get your own heavyweight hardcore tattoo. All right, anyway, if you're not subscribed, make sure you do. Turn that red into a grey. Very, very important. Do it now. So when it comes to the biases of the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF, who are we talking about? Who are they biased towards? Well, we're talking about promoters. Okay, now again, there is a grey area when we come to talk about, say, the left guy on the screen, Al Haymon. Is he a boxing promoter? Officially, no. He's an advisor, but his company, Premier Boxing Champions, PBC, they pretty much act like a promotional company, don't they? But anyway, Al Haymon and the PBC, they put their shows on Showtime and Fox Sports. Eddie Hearn in the middle. He puts his shows with Matchroom Boxing on DAZN and Sky Sports. And I'll put Arum and Frank Warren in together because they do co-promote certain fights such as Tyson Fury, and their shows do tend to be across BT and ESPN. So I'll put them two combined. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, those three particular sections when it comes to the biases from the sanctioning bodies, from the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF. And for those of you who don't know, let's convert those into belts. Well, that's what they look like. I'm sure most of you know, but as I said, I'm not trying to teach anyone to suck eggs. So when it comes to those four major sanctioning bodies, they're the four that you need to be undisputed. You don't need Ring Magazine, and I'll say that unfortunately, because me personally, I think you should need it. Okay, but officially you don't. You need those four. Much like you don't need the IBO and you don't need Lineal. But luckily, if Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, who of course own those four belts, plus the Ring Magazine, IBO and Lineal, that these guys fight for undisputed, all of the belts are on the line. Okay, so that's great news. Now, Tyson Fury is of course the WBC champion, along with the Ring Magazine and Lineal. Anthony Joshua is the WBA champion, along with the IBF and the WBO. Of course, he's got that sidebar one of the IBO as well. Okay, now before we get into the four major ones, we are going to talk about the Ring Magazine, because I know a lot of you do like the Ring Magazine. So we're going to talk about the Ring Magazine bias. Okay, Tyson Fury, of course, is the Ring Magazine heavyweight champion of the world, 2-time actually. So Tyson Fury, he's a Bob Arum and Frank Warren co-promoted fighter. But when you look at these top 10, again, I don't know why the Ring Magazine only put out a top 10 compared to the 15 like the other sanctioning bodies do. I don't know why they don't call mandatories like the other sanctioning bodies do. I have no idea, okay? But it's the Rocky Balboa belt for me and many of you. Whoever owns that particular belt, in theory, should be the number one in that particular division. Whether you agree Tyson Fury is number one or number two or whatever it may be, well, you find out when he takes on Anthony Joshua, okay? But currently, Tyson Fury is the Ring Magazine heavyweight champion of the world. Their rankings are number 1, Joshua, 2, Wilder, 3, Povetkin, 4, Whyte, 5, Ortiz, 6, Ruiz Jr., 7, Parker, 8, Hunter, 9, Rivas, and number 10, Alexander Usyk, okay? Now, are they biased towards Haymon, Hearn, or Warren and Arum? Well, let's have a look. When it comes to Warren and Arum, all they've got is Tyson Fury, the champion. But we don't include champions when we look at the rankings, okay? Because the rankings, they don't include champions from other sanctioned bodies. So Tyson Fury, who's the WBC champion, you will not see him ranked in the WBA, WBO, or IBF because he's a WBC champion. Much like you won't see Joshua, who's champion of those other sanctioned bodies, ranked in the WBC. Okay, again, a lot of people do actually ask that question. Again, you won't see Trevor Bryan ranked anywhere outside of the WBA. because he's WBA regular world heavyweight champion. Should he be? No, not really. But officially he is. That's why he's not ranked in the other sanctioning bodies, because they recognise him as a world champion. That's officially true. Is that right? I don't believe so. But anyway, it is what it is. Alexander Povetkin, you will not see him ranked outside the WBC because he's the interim champion. Okay? So again, for clarity. So Bob Arum and Frank Warren, all they have is Tyson Fury champion. So in the top 10, they have no fighters. No room for a Joe Joyce, a Daniel Dubois, or Nathan Gorman, or whoever else. Al Haymon, he has Wilder, Ortiz, and Ruiz. So he's got 3 of the top 10. Matchroom have Joshua, Povetkin, Whyte, and Parker. So he's got 4 of the top 10. Now, you may say, what about Alexander Usyk? Well, he had a 2-fight deal following the Tony Bellew fight. He's now had those 2 fights. His contract is now up, and it's not up for renewal, apparently. In fact, according to Joe Joyce, he's going to be fighting Alexander Usyk in April, and it'll be on a Frank Warren show. Okay, so he's not actually a Matchroom fighter. Okay, now, if you think that I'm just dropping him to try and show some kind of favouritism towards Matchroom, no, not at all, okay? And again, I'll clarify that when it comes to the other sanctioning bodies, because certain fighters I have removed from the PBC as well, okay? Again, we'll explain. So, with the Ring Magazine, just for clarity, 0 when it comes to Warren and Arum, 4 when it comes to Hearn, and 3 when it comes to Haymon. So are they biased towards Matchroom because they've got 4 compared to 3 with the PBC? No, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to shout up and down and say biased or anything over 1 fighter difference. That would be very, very unfair, wouldn't it? So no, for me, I don't think the Ring Magazine are biased. I don't particularly agree with their rankings. Again, for clarity as well, Oscar Rivas being ranked at number 9 in the Ring Magazine. Should he be? Well, for those of you who've been following me for the past couple of weeks, you'll see that Oscar Rivas is number 1 in the Bridgerweight division. But for me, all this tells me is that the Ring Magazine have yet to recognise the Bridgerweight division. All right? Anyway, so we're going to be talking about the PBC individually, Matchroom individually, Hearn and Warren individually. Then we're going to do side-by-side comparisons, and you'll see who's biased towards who. So with the PBC, Al Haymon, well, he's got 5 of his fighters ranked in the WBC, in the top 15. 5 of them. The WBA have 7 Al Haymon fighters in their top 15. 7. I could have put an 8th with Otto Wallin, but I decided not to. Again, Otto Wallin, his last fight was on the PBC show when he took on Travis Kaufman. His next fight will also be on a PBC show when he takes on Dominic Brazil. All right? But is he a PBC fighter? I don't know, to be honest with you. I really don't know. Is he still a Dimitri Salita fighter? Again, I don't know. But because I wasn't quite sure, I didn't put him on there, all right? So 7 for the WBA and 5 for the WBC. Historically, especially over the last couple of years, we'd be saying complete opposite, would we not? Of course we would, because the PBC have always had heavy favouritism from the WBC. But with the likes of myself, other content creators, many of you who's been screaming about the blatant bias from the WBC towards Premier Boxing champions, well, it looks like they're starting to get their act together, especially at least when it comes to the heavyweight division rankings, okay? Now, keeping with the PBC, Al Haymon's with the WBO and the IBF, well, he's got 3 of his fighters ranked in the top 15 of the WBO and 2 in the IBF. So complete difference, isn't it? Very, very heavy when it comes to the WBA and the WBC, but not so much in the WBO and the IBF. Now, you would think all 4 sanctioning bodies, they would pretty much be singing from the same kind of hymn sheets, wouldn't you? You would think that at least their top 15 should be quite similar, not necessarily in that kind of order, but the bulk of them should be pretty much the same, shouldn't they? A couple of fighters here or there difference, but it seems to be complete opposite. I have no idea what's going on with them. Anyway, so the PBC, when it comes to these particular sanctioning bodies, WBO, they've got 3 and only 2 in the IBF. When it comes to Matchroom, back over to the WBC, they have 4 of their fighters ranked in the top 15. 4. And only 1 in the WBA. Only 1. Again, remember, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom have more heavyweights than Haymon, Warren, and Top Rank, whatever, combined. Okay, is what it is. So we'll move over to the WBO and the IBF. Eddie Hearn, Matchroom have 4 ranked in the WBO and 3 ranked in the IBF. So not too much difference towards the PBC there as well. Again, we'll do side by side in a minute, all right? When it comes to Top Rank, as in Bob Arum and Frank Warren, when it comes to the WBC, only 3 of their fighters are ranked in the top 15. Again, you'll notice as well that Joe Joyce has now just been recently elevated to number 5 as well, okay? But they've got 3 in the WBC and only 1 in the WBA. Again, I'll show you side by side in a minute. When it comes to the WBO and the IBF, we know that the WBO are very, very biased when it comes to Bob Arum and Frank Warren. Very, very biased. But when it comes to the heavyweight division, not so much. Is that because they don't have that many heavyweights? Possibly, because if you look at the other rankings, they are very, very biased when it comes to Bob Arum and Frank Warren fighters. Look at most of their champions, the WBO. Anyway, Bob Arum and Frank Warren, when it comes to the WBO, only have 3 heavyweights ranked in there. When it comes to the IBF, they only have 2 ranked in their top 15. So now we're doing side-by-side comparisons, okay? Anthony Joshua for the WBA is their champion. The side-by-side comparisons are, the WBA have 7 PBC fighters, 1 Matchroom, and only 1 Arum and Warren. Now, some people will say, well, maybe the PBC have better heavyweights than what Matchroom and Arum and Warren do. Come on now. Come on now. Let's be serious, okay? Again, look at whether or not that I already mentioned it on this video or the previous video with the individual rankings, but number 9, Chris Arreola. He's recorded 2 wins in his last 6 fights. 2. So why is he ranked number 9? It makes no sense, does it? It really, really doesn't. So the PBC, they have 7 PBC fighters compared to 1 Matchroom and 1 Arum and Warren. Well, let's see if the WBC are biased towards any of these sanctioning bodies. Tyson Fury, of course, is the WBC heavyweight world champion. Well, the WBC, they have 5 PBC fighters, 4 Matchroom fighters, and 3 Arum and Warren fighters. Could we call bias towards PBC? Ordinarily, when it comes to WBC, yeah. But on this particular occasion with the heavyweight division, no. PBC's got 5, Matchroom's got 4, Arum and Warren's got 3. But I can't claim that the WBC are overly biased because at the end of the day, it's only 1 fighter difference. I'll probably be going a little bit over the top if I was shouting bias now, wouldn't I? Now, when it comes to the IBF, Anthony Joshua, of course, is the champion. And the IBF, they have only 2 PBC fighters, 3 Matchroom fighters, and 2 Arum and Warren fighters. So again, 1 fighter difference. Is that a bias towards Matchroom? No, of course it's not. Of course it's not. Or at least according to these rankings, it's not. With the WBO, Anthony Joshua, of course, is the heavyweight world champion for the WBO. Are they biased? Let's have a look. So the WBO, they have 3 PBC fighters, 4 Matchroom fighters, and 3 Arum and Warren fighters. Are they biased towards Matchroom? I mean, possibly, but again, I can't be shouting that they are. Only 1 fighter difference. That would be a little bit unfair, wouldn't it? Only 1 fighter difference. Do we agree with their rankings? Of course not. But overall, I think most people can agree when it comes to the WBA, heavily, heavily biased when it comes to the PBC. Now, don't get me wrong, Al Haymon must be doing something right because his fighters, quite clearly, he's doing them a little bit of justice, isn't he? You know, he's having a word with the WBA. Yo, can you rank my guys? Quite clearly, is it money? Is it favouritism? Is it just incompetence? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I am surprised the likes of Dominic Brazil are not ranked on there. I mean, you've got Charles Martin on there, you've got Adam Kalnacki on there, and you've got a Chris Arreola and that on there. Well, actually, Charles Martin is on there. So, and Frank Sanchez, again, somewhat of a prospect. I'm surprised Dominic Brazil's not on there, to be honest. But again, Otto Wallen, is he a PBC fighter? So maybe they've got 8. But quite clearly, that is the bias when it comes to the WBA. Out of the 4 sanctioning bodies, especially with the heavyweight division, they seem to be very, very biased when it comes to Premier Boxing Champions. Very biased. How can it be 7 PBC fighters compared to 1 Matchroom and only 1 Arum and Warren? Doesn't quite make sense now, does it? Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.